You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Shifting foundations are often an indication of imminent collapse. It seems to be gaining traction by stealth, perhaps because those who practice it would never own up to it. A case of everyone is right in their own eyes. I'm talking about relative morality or moral relativism. It's right because I endorse it. It should be the standard because I practice it. Truth and what is right practice has to be an objective standard, or else we're out at sea without a compass. This is why we have the law and regulations. This is why we have cultural and religious codes of conduct. Reference some cases recently adjudicated in the court of social media, which brought up the dregs of human hypocrisy and relative morality at its ugliest. Some argue that a certain behavior was acceptable because they could identify with it. It isn't rape because they too have done it or would have done the same thing once upon a time. You can add to that, it isn't assault because if sufficiently provoked by a woman, you're justified in hitting her. The essence of accepting a common standard in advance is that you are saying, irrespective of who practices it, even if it were you, a certain conduct is right or wrong. This is what will make honest men or women of us and our politicians and eradicate breeding places for our culture of corruption. It's important that we interrogate our behavior on the basis of a predetermined or objective standard, rather than on what we subjectively permit on any given day. For example, would you give up your seat on a plane for an elderly person who is well known, even if that person is not someone we particularly want to impress or curry favor with? Is this respect? We must resist the temptation to make the world in our image and to Photoshop our conduct to ensure that we come out looking good, even when there are clear blemishes in our behavior. I recommend that to achieve this as individuals, we surround ourselves with friends who tell us the truth and challenge our worldview based on an objective standard. As institutions, that we create accessible avenues for regular feedback. Collectively, we must speak up against hypocrisy, especially in the public space. The consequence of creating and sustaining our worldview of relative morality is that it is unhealthy and unsustainable, since its singular objective is a selfish one, to validate us. Ultimately, we would be building castles in the sand.
Yeah. Well, that's the direction we're all going. We're all going, as in, listen, the entire Western world especially, you know, now we have this thing called your truth. Okay. I saw a lot of it being spoken about when this whole Busola and Timidaku, you know, she's speaking her truth. What about speaking the truth? Why there must be a common standard. Yeah, why are we now using all this her? And, you know, I think we've gotten to a point where people just kind of want their own reality. They're creating their own reality.
And they're not looking for overlap.
No, they're not, because they've now finally come to the situation that, yeah, everything is relative, including truth. They've added truth into that. So so now it's like you say, oh, you're so and so, that's your opinion. I don't see myself like that, and that's the end of it. And there's not, you know, we agree to disagree. That's where all these things just, you know, come into play. So I think, you know, now we have, I'm sure there'll be some people out there who want to beat me up now when I say, look, I believe there are only 2 genders. Some people are going to tell me, no, mate.
You know, there's a boy that was thrown out of class.
Yes, I know. They're going to tell me, no, there's 6, there's 7, there's 8, there's whatever. You know, that's their truth. I'm trying to stick with the truth, you know.
Or what you think is the truth.
Yes,
then it becomes her truth.
So it becomes yours. It becomes my truth, exactly. So everything is upside down now. And, you know, I kind of feel like, I agree with you, absolutely, in everything you're saying, but I kind of feel we're now past that point.
There's no return?
Yeah, there's no return now, because everybody is speaking their truth. Everybody is following their, you know, everybody has, you know, like when you say to somebody, that God wouldn't agree with that. I say, my God will. So now there's my God, you know. Yeah, the God I worship will not allow me to perish. The God, you know, so we're really messed up now. And I really do not I don't believe, I love what you're advocating, but I think we're well past that.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I forget it.
So, I mean, I, for one, I know I've written many times about that I don't worship a God of Israel, and I don't recognize it.
That's his truth.
The God I know is for everybody and is everywhere. I don't believe that there's any, what do you call it? There's any chosen, that thing of chosen race. I don't believe it at all. I say zero. Zero. Only God can now convince me that he said that and that I should take it. That means I have to also know it is even God talking to me. So until then, that's my truth.
Oh my gosh.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I have struggled, you know, for the last couple of years with this notion of truth, religion, spiritual.
That's why you were leaning towards Amadio had the other.
Which is body tree.
I mean, you know, and I completely agree with you. Look at this thing of
singular.
You know, the God of Israel and a chosen race, and I think it's just BS.
See?
Oh wow.
If
is that hate speech?
Well,
it might be to some.
I think humanity. You know? What humanity has done is to create God in our own image.
Correct.
And that's what we've been most successful at.
Yeah.
And so, whichever culture, whichever people, we create our own gods. And with the narrative of history and passage over time, people have elevated their own gods as superior gods over other people's gods.
Okay.
And the same thing is happening now in terms of what you're talking about, this relativism, about the truth, our truth, my truth, our truth. And the fact is, the way I see it, I think it's really something that was invented in the last maybe 20, 30 years.
What part of it?
This
your truth, my truth.
Yes. And I say that with some...
As a result of what?
As a result of the coming of age of alternative...
Everything.
Yes. Alternative lifestyle, alternative everything.
Sexuality, alternative.
Yes, because the more you become, you run into the cult. Yes, you run into the cult of the individual, which is what we are now. Okay. And media has even made that even more possible. So everybody has their own media. We're not consuming, one kind of stream of information.
Right.
We have very many.
You can create your own.
Yeah, we can create your
channel.
own. Yes, and so your own becomes your own.
Your own truth.
And I find that's why in some of the societies, the role of the government has become, you talk about 90 states in some places, the UK was moving towards that. And I think that is also the kind of thing that gave rise to the Trumps. It's this discussion that
exactly.
There was this thing started, and there's a backlash. People are saying, no.
There is a huge backlash.
There's a backlash. We can't live in the age of
relativism.
Let us have one truth. So the fight is really against the many truths versus the liberal, but the people who say there is only one truth. And but so they're fighting back.
What do you make of, because that's why I ended it by saying, Uche is saying we're well past that, but can we afford to be well past that? Because I feel that it's that one truth that keeps us together. The minute you start allowing for fragmentation, then you will never decide on anything that's essential, because unless you impose it from without. Like now, I give you the case of the social media, and you have people who are saying this is not rape, this is rape.
That's why.
That's why you have
that's why people love fascists.
Because they tell them the absolute.
In Philippines, it's happening in the era of the one strong leader.
Just imposing their
will. Because in an age where there's so many millions of troops out there, so people are now saying, you know what? I think I need someone who tells me the truth.
Yeah, the one I understand.
Whether it be, and you can forgive that person, no matter what the person is doing.
Because at least they're telling you.
Because at least they're telling you
one truth.
Make America great again.
That's my guy.
All the faults in it, it is our truth. Our truth is that we want America to be great.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. And that's a narrative that it's
combating
Are we gone past it?
I don't think so.
I think we're going to have the conflict will remain, but we live in the age of the fragmentation. One of my former teachers called it the fragmentation of reality. So we like you said, everybody is now, it's almost like on a subatomic level. That individuals now have very many truths, and one person can have many truths, not just one truth. So you might find America saying, "Oh, this is my truth," but I can have many versions of switch.
Even within groups that appear to agree, they still have their own individual truth.
Yeah, but you see,
so even like Emeka was saying how maybe people are now fighting back and going against the whole liberal so-called movement, and now they want somebody. They want that, but even within those people that want that,
the conservatives,
the conservatives, they too also wants the opportunity to have their own
individual truth.
Yes.
No, but you see, why I feel we're not past it, and why I still think it's worth advocating is you're appealing to people's common sense. I feel at the end of the day, it boils down to common sense. Even if you want to carve out your own individual niche, we all want to be an individual, want to discover our own truths. But ultimately, it actually is more productive and fruitful, and it will make for longevity if we look for common ground. No matter how, it's like a Venn diagram. Even if it's just like this that we overlap, let's hold on to that, because actually we cannot go it alone, going in our separate directions. Things fall apart. The center cannot.
We totally agree. I totally agree with you.
So we must strive for that, even if it's an artificial thing.
That it is past it.
If it's past, then
I think
we also are getting extinct ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think we'll get a new communal way of doing things.
Can I frighten you?
No, please give me hope. I need hope.
I'm going to frighten you. So there's a he's not an atheist, but people call him that. His name is Ray Kurzweil. He teaches innovation, science, technology. He's a futurist. And he says that 100 years from now, humanity will have, because he preaches constant evolution. Right. That the way mankind started eons ago is not the way man is. And that we're moving to the point where we become machines.
Oh dear. Yes, it's happening already.
I don't know why I don't believe that.
Okay, fine.
Go on, but carry on.
But, and he gives a prime example of what is happening now, this age of individual truths. The person is living many lives in one lifetime.
Okay.
That I can decide to be a man today.
Tomorrow I'm a woman.
And tomorrow I'm like, I'm bored. I want to be a woman. And the technology and the biotechnology exists to make that possible. And so in 5 years, God forbid, why am I using myself as an example? I turn to something else.
Yes.
And I can also decide, you know what?
That's your truth.
You can be both.
You can be both. And that's why you're talking about intersex,
transgender. He can even legally change his name, everything, and create a whole new human being.
And there's a whole group of people in that school of thought. It's emerging. It's scary, but that's the reality.
I'm a believer that we can, even though, yes, it may be going that way, we can artificially hold it together.
So what is right is being constantly redefined. When that woman in the Trump team said something about alternative truths and facts, I think Kellyanne something Conway, that, okay, your truth is your truth, but
there's an alternative.
There's an alternative fact.
Yes.
And a lot of people, there's a lot of backlash. Or what do you mean by fact is fact?
Yes.
CNN came up with that.
But they know.
An apple is an apple. A banana is not.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that we need to live in an age where what the common ground is a common ground of sensitivity to other people.
That's all, really.
And I think that's just that respect for other people.
Absolutely.
Whether they be man or machine.
I think the truth thing really has to boil down to that. Just love your neighbor as yourself, because that is the only way you can gauge how So
love will find the connecting point.
Yeah, love will find it.
Okay, my truth may not be your truth, but gratefully, we can usually find a meeting point. Thank you for being a part of The Advocate. Let's continue the conversation on our social media platforms. On Facebook, Plus TV Africa, hashtag TheAdvocateNG, or on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, hashtag TheAdvocateNG. Till next time, when we take on the issues that engage you, let's keep advocating for a better society. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief justice.
It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
very
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.